Hello everybody, and welcome to this quick brief tutorial about how to get started doing stop motion animation with Lego bricks. Just wanted to run through a couple of the things that you'll need to get started. First of all, you'll need some Legos. Here is our minifigure character that we're going to be using just briefly in this little tutorial. See a little pig guy. So the first thing obviously you'll need is Legos, and then you'll need something to take images with, because stop motion animation is just a series of images put together to create a moving picture, which is what movies are actually. You're just creating each individual frame by yourself. Now normally you would want a camera that you don't have to touch, so preferably you'd want like a fancier camera that you could attach like a clicker to, so that you don't actually have to touch it, because you have the possibility of bumping it that way, and if you bump it then you have to start all over. The only reason I have this camera right now is because I'm in between cameras myself. I used to have a webcam that I used to hook directly up into the computer, but it's got too old for the computers that I've got now. But just to demonstrate, here's our camera, and I've got it on a tripod because you want the camera to not move. And you don't have to necessarily put it on a tripod, but it's a good way to keep it stable. And just find some way to keep it stable, and that's what all you'll need really. And then also I've just got a standard desk lamp for our lighting, and you'll probably want a few of these to light it from different directions to get your fill light and all that stuff, just as you would light a normal motion picture type thing. Now for this tutorial I'm just going to run through very quickly about how to do one of the most basic things that you do, and surprisingly enough one of the most challenging things you do in a stop motion film, and that's the walking cycle. So let's get started. Let's get our little guy ready. And now I want him to start like this, and that's when you take a picture. I'm not actually going to do it right here for the sake of speed, but you would take a picture to start off with, and then you would need to move one of the legs forward. Now people, when we walk, our opposite arm from the leg goes forward, and so the same leg, or the arm on the side of the leg that's going forward, goes back. So let's do that, and then you would snap a picture. Now depending on how quickly you would want your character to go, you could add an extra frame here where they move the leg up just a little bit more, you move the arms a little bit more. You would take another picture and then move him forward slightly, kind of halfway in between. You see how he's not quite fully down on the bumps there. You would snap another picture there, then complete the step, start moving the arms back down this point, snap another picture, move the leg in there, and return to start position. So that's just a basic step, and of course you'd want to remember that this one went forward first. So something I like to normally do is off the camera I take a Lego brick and I place it in line with the foot that just went forward, so I can remember which one went forward, so that I know this next step is in this case the right leg, and then I would switch it over here. And like I said, this brick is just off camera like this. He's falling over. Okay. So in this case, this arm would go back, this arm would move forward. Then you would take a picture. And normally, whenever I'm doing this, I'm not only mark it over here with a Lego brick, sometimes I'll have it over here to remember which, bumps they're on, so that I can take it off, and do the adjustments or whatever. Say it's in a cramped space. I mean, I've got a lot of space right here right now, but say you're in a cramped space and you don't have a lot of space to be able to manipulate it, and you need to kind of take it out, put it back in. It's nice to have these bricks just off camera, like so that you can mark where your guys are, and you have one on each side so that you remember what, which bumps they're on, or yeah, these little bumps. So those are kind of the basics that you need to know in order to do a walk cycle. Let's go over to the computer and see how we put it all together. Okay, first thing you'll want to do, of course, is to transfer your pictures onto the computer if you took them with a camera with an SD card or some other sort of card or drive, and then you'll want to import them into whatever your preferred editing program is. I use Adobe Premiere because it comes part of the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. But like I said, you could use whatever editing program you want. The principle here is the same. You're just going to be cutting individual frames out of each of these pictures so that when run together they look like they're just flowing as a movie. Now, the images that I'm going to be using in this part are not the images of the little pig that we were using before. I didn't actually take any pictures during that, so these are images that I did not end up using in a film that I recently did. I ended up reshooting this particular shot because the lighting was a bit too dark in this case, and I didn't want to try and artificially light it anyway. So that's what we're going to be using. It's just a standard walk into frame shot, and I'll be showing you how to cut that. So something that you should know, you should make sure that whatever editing program you use supports 15 frames per second, or at least the ability to change the frames per second. 15 frames per second is probably the lowest frame rate that you'll be able to get a fluid animation with, and I usually shoot to 15 frames per second because it requires less pictures. Most professional stop motion animation is done in 24 frames per second, so if you want to look a little bit more professional, do it in 24 frames. I've yet to shoot one in 24 frames, but I plan to someday. But to start off with, do 15 because it's a lot easier. Okay. So let's go ahead and drag these images over to our timeline. Ooh, there they are. And somehow that one got out of order, so I have to figure out why that is. Well, several of these are out of order. Let me organize that real fast. Okay, sorry about that. My pictures are now in the right order, as you can see here. And you can kind of see already what it's gonna look like once we get it all edited together just by scrubbing through here. Looks pretty good, huh? Alright, so let's make it so that it does it on its own, because as of right now, you hit play, and then you can kind of see his hand move there. Oh, and move a little bit more. Anyway, you get the idea. It's not quite ready. Okay, so the process of cutting these is actually pretty simple in Adobe Premiere. In a program that's less advanced, say like iMovie. I actually don't know if iMovie can do this anymore. They've changed it so much. I remember the old Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker could do this. Basically, you can just hit the arrow key and advance by one frame. In this case, I'm not zoomed in quite enough. And you can just hit one. In this case, it's giving me 2. Oh, probably because I have it set to 15 frames and it's showing me 30. Anyway, you can just advance by one little notch here, and then you would cut it like that, and then you would delete the rest of the picture. Like this. And then you would do that for every single picture. Now, in the case of Premiere, you'd have to drag them all over every time, and we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and undo those edits. There's a much quicker way to do it, actually. You just select everything, right-click it, and go to speed/duration. So you'll see right now it's 5, each of these clips is 5 seconds and 2 frames. That's what that means. So we say 0, 0, and then 1. And then make sure this ripple edit shifting trailing clips is clicked, because that will suck up all that extra space that is left over when you delete, like I showed you before how there was all that extra space. This will delete it right here. So you hit OK, boom. So it all apparently disappeared. So let's zoom in. You'll see that they're all still there. They're all now 1 frame. Now if we hit play, he walks up. If you kind of want to get a clearer idea here, you can take this and expand it out so that it doesn't just go to black for us. So there you go. That's all there is to it. Now for pauses and things, you can do exactly what I did. You can go back to a frame and extend it out like this so that there's a pause, you know, like he's looking at the idol. But really, that's all there is to it. It's a very quick and easy way to cut them, you know, down to 1 frame, and then you have a little stop motion animation movie.